Hey y'all, this is Nikon, and this is another episode of Wizards United. So I'm going to explain how the green boxes work underneath you and the orange boxes on the foes. If you notice in the clip right now, underneath all the people, the boxes are cleared out. There is one box for each person in the chamber. Even if there's less than 5 people, it would always show 5 boxes. If you take a look at all the foes, they also have 5 boxes underneath them that are cleared out currently because there's no impairments on them, and as well as no enhancement on me or my allies. Now, the first thing that happens in the video is you'll see an animation of the ore giving focus to the professor in slot 3, Breaky. The first thing that actually happens is the professor in slot 1, Violet Femme Fatale, she's going to give a shield to the Magizoologist in slot 4, Nikon. Now, if you look at everybody's boxes, the first box is always a little bigger than the other 4. That box is always your box. So if you do an impairment on a foe, it will always go in that first box. If you do an enhancement on an ally, it will always go in that first box. So notice that the shield that goes up on me will go in the second box and turn it green. That's from Violet Femme Fatale. Shortly after, Breaky will have enough to do proficiency, and she will throw proficiency on the whole group. Now, on my screen is going to make the people in slots 1, 2, and 3, they're in that position. So Violet Femme Fatale, A Thunder Fan, and Breaky, their box number 2 is going to turn green. Now, since my slot 2 has already been filled up, the next available slot is slot 3. So proficiency actually goes to the 3rd slot on my screen. Now keep in mind, this looks differently on everybody's screen, and I'm just explaining it from my perspective. Alright, now keep in mind that if one person tosses multiple enhancements or impairments, it's only going to take up one box, so you'll only see one box filled up. Once the professor in slot 3 casts proficiency, notice that it makes the second box green for players in slots 1 through 3. But on my screen, the Magi in slot 4 will have its box number 3 turn green. On Breaky's screen, everybody's first box will be green because on her screen she's the first person. But I don't have pictures of it to show you. Alright, the next animation that you'll see for enhancements will be a shield on Breaky, but notice that she only has 1 green box. That's because she casts proficiency on herself, and she also casts a shield on herself. So it's not going to take up more than 1 box since she's the only one that did it. Then next, notice that a Thunder Fan gets a shield. That shield came from Violet Femme Fatale because it took up a new square. Because for him on his screen, he got proficiency first, so I took up box 2. And then Violet Femme Fatale, a different person, different professor, threw shield up, so it took up box 3. On his screen, it should look exactly the same, because he doesn't have any enhancements to give out since he's an ore, and there's really no enhancements for ores. Alright, now the next spell cast is from the Magizoologist, which is me and who I'm playing. Since the first box for me on my screen, it will fill up everybody's first box. So once it's cast, you will see the first box on everybody in the group go green. Now the next shield will be on Violet Femme Fatale, will come from Violet. Since Breaky took the second green box with the proficiency buff, I took the first green box with the bravery buff, so she will be the 3rd box for the shield. Keep in mind, on everybody else's screen it looks a little differently, since the person playing will always be the first box. On the aura screen, boxes 2 through 4 will be green, while boxes 1 and 5 will be empty, since the aura has no enhancements. Alright, now this mechanic works very similar on impairments. If you toss an impairment on a foe, the first box will turn orange. If you have more than 1 impairment for a foe, it will only take up 1 box. Then whoever else casts the next impairment will go to box 2 and 3, assuming it's 2 different people. If it's just 1 person, it will only take up the second box. And I'll show you a little bit more about that in the next clip. On the Acromantula, notice that there are 2 orange boxes. Before I click on it, that means two different people have thrown impairments on it. There's one person per box. For example, if a single aura throws two different impairments, it will only show one orange box. Now, since I'm a Magizoologist, I don't have an impairment to give. Boxes 2 and 3 are filled in. Now, as I click on the spider, you will see a confusion hex and a deterioration hex. But once I start fighting the spider, you will see confusion hex, deterioration hex, weakening hex on the spider. I'm going to click on one of the impairments to show you weakening hex does 50% power reduction. Deterioration hex does 40 damage per turn. Confusion hex reduces defense dodge and defense breach by 60%. Now if you look up on my left side, you will see that bravery buff increases damage versus elites by 150%. Proficiency increases damage versus foes you're proficient against by 44%. And I have a defense shield buff or enhancement that increases my defense by 30%. Now the spider, if you look in the right again, the goldish icons, this spider has its own enhancements. It's a fierce. These icons correlate with icons you see in your spell tree when you're going through your specialization. The health icon means the foe has more health than normal, and then the power/damage icon means the foe does more damage than normal. All right, next clip. On the werewolf, for the green boxes, notice that only 2 green boxes on the professor, because that professor has tossed 2 enhancements on themselves. They have proficiency on themselves and they have a shield on themselves. The second green box is the bravery charm from the Magizoologist. Now notice the orange boxes on the werewolf already. There's one. The professor is going to throw a deterioration hex on that foe, and since they are the first person, I mean, like they're always the first box, so that first box is going to turn orange. And once the mob is clicked on, you will actually see that the deterioration hex shows up in box 1, and then the aura's weakening hex shows up in box 2. There's only one aura, so even though there are 2 different aura debuffs or impairments on the foe, you can only see one box that has the icon on it. I believe it's the last one that's done to the foe. I mixed that part up. Doesn't really matter that much. Alright, now once we start fighting the werewolf, you will see all 3 impairments as well as all 3 enhancements. Currently, with the lessons available, there is a max of 3 different impairments and enhancements. Maybe more to come later. Alright, hopefully this kind of explains what the orange boxes are and the green boxes are, and the order of them. Like I said, you're always the first box, and whoever casts the next item will be in the second box, and the next person will be in the third box. You can't have more than one box, so if you have 2 enhancements or 2 impairments, it will only take up 1 box. If 2 different people do 2 different enhancements or impairments, it will take up separate boxes. Hopefully this shed some light on the green and orange boxes. As always, if you like the video, like and subscribe. Until the next one, peace.